Hello again, awesomers. It's me. Hey, it's your old buddy, Steve Simonson, and I'm coming back for another ad hoc episode of the awesomers.com podcast series. Now, today is episode number 167, and so all you have to do is go to awesomers.com/167 to see any show notes, details, and occasionally we throw in a link or two for you as well. So I'm doing just a quick podcast today to share some of my thoughts about the situation in China with the coronavirus. Last Thursday, I believe it was, I posted a message basically saying that I'm postponing all of my China-based travel and probably most of my Asia-based travel until at least after June of this year. Now, some people are looking at me saying, Steve, it's January. What's wrong with you? What's the deal with June? And this particular situation is far more serious, or it has the makings of something being far more serious than things that we've seen before. In my opinion, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm also not a panicker. When I see headlines, I don't immediately run for my basement or bomb shelter. I am very pragmatic. I analyze things, and this is special. So, as I said in my message last week, the fact that the Chinese government has taken what really are unprecedented steps is that informs us about decisions we should make ourselves. So you may have heard last week that China closed all 70,000 movie theaters across China. Smart, right? That's where people congregate. That's where a virus could spread. And by the way, I'm not going to get into the politics of how this happened or where it happened or the illegal wild animal meat or any of that other stuff. I find a lot of that quite disgusting, I'll be honest with you. But we're not going to get into that today. We may do that another time. But the point is, however it got started, this is just like any other virus. You've seen and heard of viruses on cruise ships, the norovirus, for example. You may have remember SARS or MERS. SARS just kind of magically disappeared at some point. And the interesting thing about SARS is, it was dangerous. It spread rapidly. And I know there's a lot of misinformation, but from the stuff that I'm reading, from the reports that I'm hearing, both from inside and outside of China, this particular coronavirus has not been seen before, and therefore it has no virus, or it has no antidote. And more importantly, the incubation period means that it's been spreading for a lot of time before we actually knew what was going on. And to make matters worse, the people in Wuhan, China, where this originated, they call it the Wuhan coronavirus, they let 5 million people leave the city. And I know that sounds crazy to talk about quarantines and kind of locking people down, but if I have the virus, I will stay in my house so I don't infect any of you. That's what good humans and good citizens should do. And it doesn't mean we don't survive. We need to get groceries and so on, but we find a way. But they let 5 million people leave the city, any of whom could have been carriers without showing any symptoms, without showing any problems. And so what that means is all of those people are contagious at that point where they don't even know they have it, and then they can infect other people. This particular disease shows I think they call it an N-naught rating. Basically, how much will it spread? Anything less than 1 means it's going to die out on its own. Anything more than 1 means it can sustain itself indefinitely, really. And this, I've seen estimates from 2.5 to 3.5 times. So for every 1 person that gets infected, 2.5 to 3.5 persons can be infected by that person, which means this thing could have legs for some time if this quarantine does not hold. So what are the things that are happening? Inside of China, as I mentioned, they've closed the movie theaters. Cool, great. They also closed Badaling, a most populous part of the Great Wall. They've closed Hong Kong and Shanghai Disney. The EU market's been extended for its Chinese New Year close till February 21st as of this recording. And by the way, all of these things are unprecedented, particularly during Chinese New Year. So for those who don't understand, Chinese New Year is like, it's like Christmas times 10, right? Everybody's excited. They're going home to see family. They save up all year. And all of this travel, there's now 50 million people in the quarantine area where the trains, planes, and automobiles have been locked down. There is no travel allowed in those sections to cross into other provinces or territories. And again, this is in part to try to stymie the spread of the infection. There is speculation that there's far more, and it's far worse, far more information and far worse than the government is letting on. I don't have that information firsthand. No, we won't know until we know. There are also plenty of people who probably have the virus who just feel like it's just like a little cold, and it's not really life-threatening to them. This is not uncommon with flus and viruses of this nature. So again, I'm not an expert, but I am aware of these threats, and I take very careful analysis of each of these things. And this is one where I'm saying I'm not going to China. I've encouraged my friends, do not go to China. If you've already booked a trip to China between now and June, so January 2020 and June 2020, I would try to put the kibosh on that and at least reschedule it. I would, get your money back. You do not want to go, have a China tragic trip. That just will not work. Particularly if you went, you did your business, you got in and out in a week, and you felt good, and you got back, and then you had the virus, and you got your family sick. That's the kind of thing that happens with these epidemics, right? And it's not a pandemic yet because there's really inside of China is where this is concentrated. There are a few cases here and there. As of recording this, there's about 5 in the U.S., including one here in the Seattle region. But that doesn't mean it's going to go global. So here's my summary. Stay tuned, stay aware. That's how you stop the spread of a virus. Don't panic. I'm not panicking. I'm making pragmatic decisions based on information. For example, when the Chinese government shuts down pretty much everything during Chinese New Year that is of major importance and has the potential to draw big crowds, they killed a ton of that stuff. That tells us, that informs our decision making, that going to China right now is not the right answer. Now, I have lots of friends who live in China. My team who lives and works in China, I'm encouraging to stay in as much as possible. We're going to minimize their travel to the greatest extent possible. So that's the situation. What are the ramifications? Well, first of all, factories are not going to get back to business as quick as they normally would because of travel restrictions, because of their own fears. That means it could take much longer to get your orders out of the system. Often, for those experienced people, we know that Chinese New Year happens. We place our orders, we get a bunch out, and then there's a bunch in the queue for right after Chinese New Year. Well, those could be delayed, and in some cases, significantly delayed. We don't know what's going to happen yet. As I said, EWU is closed till February 21st. I think it's going to push longer than that, personally. And in fact, I think Canton Fair could come under scrutiny because it is such a global convergence of people that it's possible that it will be dramatically impacted, if not canceled or postponed. I can tell you firsthand, I'm not going to go there because I don't want to contribute to the problem. I travel a lot. I'm everywhere. And I don't want to be one of the people who grabs it up. I'll probably be fine, but I don't want to spread it around. And I don't want you guys to do that either. So that's what I'm talking about when I say don't go to China till at least June 2020. There's no reason that you can't conduct business, via Skype or WeChat or what have you, until this situation is under control. And it is not nearly under control. I don't think we'll know till the middle of March if the thing is under control or out of control. And what that means is there's so many things that can happen between now and then. And I want you guys to be safe. I want you to be cognizant of these facts. And it doesn't matter what anybody tells you. These are the facts. And the most experienced people that I know in China, now I've been going there the better part of 18, 19 years. I think I went in 2001 or 2002 the first time. And I personally am not going. Anybody who is scheduled to go with me, you already got your money back. I'm not going to hold your money. That's a rude thing to do. If somebody books a trip and then the trip is postponed or canceled, give them their money back, for goodness sake. Don't try to be a jerk and hold on to their money. I know some people who are experiencing this right now. They don't want to go, and the tour operator's being jerky about it. Russia's canceling trips to China. China's canceling trips out of China. Everybody's canceling trips. And it's going to be a negative economic impact, but let's think about health as being number one. So that's it for today, everybody. I'll probably put some links to some of the news stories I'm following in the show notes in the page on awesomers.com/167. Be safe out there. We can be prudent, we can be pragmatic, and we can conduct business without putting ourselves, our suppliers, our friends, and our family at risk. Thanks again, everybody. And please don't forget to go to the awesomers.com/167 to see show notes and details. Thanks, everybody.